Hello and welcome back. So, while I'm waiting on parts, put the transmission back together, and it's mostly gutted. I figured today's the day that I split the tractor from the main case and the rear end housing. I've never done this before, and I've never really looked up how to do this before. I'm just going to kind of guess, and I assume there's just all the bolts that hold this together, and then it'll hopefully just roll off. My thought, since the tractor is just on junk rims, is to block up the main case and then take the bolts loose and try to just wiggle the back housing off and just let it support itself on the rims. Since, as you can see, I'm so nicely equipped here. Let me get these last 4 bolts out and get the main case sitting up on blocks, and we'll see how this goes. So, slight change of plans. I wasn't incredibly confident in taking the rear axle housing off with the rims and axles and bowl gears in it. Also, I need to come up with a better way to hold up the main case of the tractor when I take off the rear axle housing. So, took a little break, made some brackets that bolt onto the brake housings. All it is a piece of 1/4-inch plate with a either 1.5 inch or 2x2 round or a square tubing. I braced it with some angle iron, and I came out about 4 inches. In hindsight, I probably should have came out about 6 inches just to get me a little further away from the tractor, but you'll have that. If anybody wants to copy this, I don't particularly care, but do it at your own risk. And before I put the jacks, set the jacks up, I took this cover off for the differential, because this is what sets your preload on your bearings, and there's some shims behind it. Again, just did the same thing on the other side. Put the bracket on the brake housing, except this brake housing's vertically oriented, while the other side, the left side of the tractor, is horizontally oriented. Then came back to the back, took the cotter pins out of the castle nuts that are on the axles, and then got a 2 5/16 wrench. This one's from Tecton. This is one of their hydraulic wrenches. I wasn't confident that I could find a open end box end wrench that was that size that would fit in here, which, as it turns out, there's plenty of room probably for a normal wrench, but also storing that big of a wrench for me is kind of hard, so I decided to just get this little one. But the nuts were not very tight at all. I just used this wrench, and it's probably, I don't know, 6 inches long. I loosened all the both nuts up by hand real easily. And then, per the book, took a chisel, or yeah, not a chisel, excuse me, a wedge, and just backed both nuts off, I don't know, 3 or 4 turns at a time, wedged the wedge in between them and hammered it in there, and it slowly pushed both axles out. And it doesn't push them out enough to pop the bearing all the way out of the race, but I just gave it a yank once I got pretty well to the end of the threads on the axles, and they just came right out. So now I will work on pulling them. And something else to note, on the left side of the tractor's axle, this bearing has a little bit of, I guess, pitting in it. Kind of unfortunate because it looks like a good bearing still. I don't know what the race looks like, but I'll get a light in there and clean it out in a moment. But the right side of the tractor, that bearing looks almost brand new, and I honestly might just reuse it, but we will see what availability is like and how much they cost. And I guess there's no surprise, there's some pitting on the inner bearings of the axles, but here's what the case looks like now. made some good progress. Let's see what this looks like. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Professional videography in the making. Yeah, not great. Also not great. I feel like that seal's gonna be so much fun to remove. But we'll get there we will get to that at some point. And then all the yummy deliciousness that I get to dredge out of there. I don't know if I've stated this before or not, but on the positive side of things, the bull gears are in excellent shape. No chipped teeth. We'll see when I get them cleaned up how pitted the teeth are, but on the left side's bull gear, I saw some pitting, but I don't think that's really gonna hurt anything. And the axles, granted they're still disgusting and dirty, but they seem like they're in really good shape. Bearing's questionable. Well, the left bearing is questionable. Right side might be all right. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Well, got the axle housing off. Honestly, it wasn't awful. Definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It is doweled at the top left corner and then the bottom right corner. And all I did was take a dead blow and smack on both sides of the axle tubes a few times just to get it started to split apart. And then I put some chisels in up at the top here, got those started, and I took pry bars down lower and kind of wiggled it and came back up to the top and wiggled it. And just eventually got it all wiggled apart. I blocked it up on some cinder blocks and wood. Originally my plan was just let it fall onto the ground, but then I remembered that I was gonna have to somehow get it back up. So I figured if it only drops like an inch or so, that's gonna be a lot better to deal with later on than trying to raise it up like, I don't know, what would that be? A foot? Started to kind of dredge out the rear end a little bit. It's pretty nasty. There is a drain plug in the back rear corner. This one was a 3/4 square. I don't know if maybe if you're working on a different tractor and so they might change it out to something different, but this one was at least a 3/4 square. Got the differential out. The differential, this might be the best view. It rides in here and in here. Once you take off this left support, you can slide the differential to the left all the way. It'll come out of this right side, and then you can walk it out with the right side coming out first. Kind of just like this. You need about a foot between the main case and the rear end, and then you can just pick it up and set it down. Now, word of caution, this is not very light. I should probably not have been lifting it by myself, but here we are. It's kind of interesting that there's 2 holes there. Just something I noticed. In looking at it, this is the first time I've really looked this close on this differential. It doesn't seem to be in that bad a shape. There's some play kind of around. Oh, you can see that on that top spider. The teeth where it was getting engaged with on the transmission, I think that'd be the sliding shaft. I don't remember offhand. Little war. Some backlash, but to be expected, really. Both bearings on both ends are questionable at best. So those are getting changed. Looks like it's just a snap ring and then bearing splitter to get them off, but that doesn't look too awful. I would say with just some cleaning, this differential will be not too bad to redo. So I'd like to hear that. Next, there is a circlip that holds this shaft in, and then I can get it out, which I think I'll go ahead and do that tonight as well. The PTO shifter shaft, there is a woodruff key down about where that spring is. It did not want to come out, so I'm just going to have to cut it and try to crush it in to get it out, but I figured I'd get everything else out before I did that, and threw sparks in more places where sparks didn't need to go. So let's try to get that. So shame on me, I forgot to film pulling out the PTO, I guess the drive shaft, before I put it in this bag. It was kind of a pain to put in the bag, so I really don't want to take it back out. But the teeth look like they're in great shape, which is fantastic. I also got in a bunch of bearings for the transmission. So now I can put in, or well, excuse me. Once I get all that cleaned out, the PTO shaft can go back in, or the sliding shaft can go back in, counter shaft can go back in, and then the sliding shaft can all go back in. Still need to order diff bearings and whatnot, but that's fine. I can do that later. And then finish cleaning out the rear end. So thank you for stopping in, and I hope to see you next time.